Welcome to Wise Squirrels, the podcast for late diagnosed adults with ADHD. I'm your host, Dave Delaney. And today I'm excited to let you know that I'm speaking with Mendelson, who is an expert on career coaching. And we've got a lot in store, so I will be getting to that interview in just a second. A couple quick things. One, I need to tell you about our awesome sponsor, Inflow. Hello. If you haven't checked out Inflow yet, you really should. Inflow is the #1 science-based app to help you manage your ADHD. It's created by ADHD clinicians and psychologists, and they have a dedicated support system that helps you better understand your neurodivergent brain. Plus, they give you lifelong skills that help you build those skills, and they help you get things done. It's a really cool app, but even before you use the app, you should check out the free ADHD traits quiz that they have created. And you can also meet Quinn, Inflow's new AI ADHD companion. This is all available from wisesquirrels.com/inflow. And we have Inflow to thank as our sponsor of Wise Squirrels. And if you'd like to become a sponsor, check out wisesquirrels.com/sponsor for details about that. On December 16th, here in Nashville, Tennessee, I am hosting an in-person all-day seminar. This is called Nowhere But Up, and I've created it to help you gain clarity and confidence and momentum in your own career. I'll be using my root down framework to teach you better how to understand yourself, to know yourself, your strengths, and just how awesome you are. But it will also teach you how to respect yourself, give yourself some self-love, building healthy habits, and then finally connecting yourself, which is an important thing, especially in this day and age when we seem to be more lonely than we ever have been before. So I'm doing this all together in this one-day seminar, and it's going to be a great reset, but it's also going to help you prepare for the new year. So December 16th here in Nashville, Tennessee, visit wisesquirrels.com, click the link. There is a coupon code still available where you can save $150. So visit wisesquirrels.com and you can get details about Nowhere But Up. You know, I really wanted to make it to the ADHD conference this year. It was in Kansas City. I was even planning a meetup for fellow Wise Squirrels, but it got busy. I had some clients that needed me, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it there. But if you were there, I would love to hear about it. This ADHD conference is interesting because it's part science. So it's medical professionals talking about the latest findings and things about ADHD, but then it's also for, it's organized by Chad as well. So it's also for parents and others who are learning about ADHD too. I believe it's pretty big. I've never been. I was supposed to go the first year when I was diagnosed 3 years ago, but it was like right on the cusp and I just missed it. And then last year I wasn't able to make it. And so this year I had hoped to be there, but wasn't able to make it again. So what are you going to do? But I'd love to hear from you if you were there. Tell me about the conference. Was it good? Not so good? Was it too overwhelming? Was it just good enough? Would love your feedback. Love to hear what your thoughts are. And speaking of sharing your feedback, did you know there's a way to record an audio comment or question? All you have to do is visit wisesquirrels.com, click the link to any of the blog posts or show notes that correspond with each episode. I've included a recorder at the bottom of each show notes blog post where you can click and record a comment, or you can just record one and send it to me at hello@wisesquirrels.com. And before jumping into my interview with Shell, I did want to mention one last thing, which is I encourage you right now, visit futureforth.com and click the coaching button and book a session with me. I call them good fit sessions because I want to see if I'm a good fit for you and if you're a good fit for me. So the sessions are free. There's no strings attached. I want to spend some time with you and see if I can help you. And if I can, then maybe we could keep talking into the future. And if not, well, that's okay too. All right. That's enough of that. Let's hear from Shell.
So my name is Shell Mendelson, and what I do for a living is I'm an ADHD career coach, uh, emphasis on career. My background is all career. I am not, and just to qualify that, I am not an ADHD coach. I am a career coach. My background is 100% career. I started in vocational rehabilitation. I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit, but I help people make decisions about finding the right career fit that
Mhm.
matches with obviously who they are authentically, what is important to them, what their preferences are in their work, um, what their interests are, obviously, what engages them, what lights them up, and finding that fit with our brain wiring. So
Right.
that's where the ADHD part comes in.
Right. Right. And you were late diagnosed as well, right?
Yes, I was. I was
What?
late diagnosed,
Yeah.
very late.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. When were you diagnosed?
In my 50s, let's just say that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
diagnosed at 50 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just before my 51st birthday or yeah, just before that. Um, so what, what got you started in the career, advising career coaching space? Like, I assume you didn't like, go to college and dream of being a career coach right from the beginning, I imagine. So tell me about that
I-
journey a little bit.
Okay, I'll tell you about that journey. It started over 35 years ago.
Yeah.
So, um, I went to graduate school and I knew I wanted to go into counseling. So, I ended up in the vocational rehabilitation counseling program, which I was looking for a position that I would get hired in afterwards. And that was the one that was the most likely for me to get hired while still giving me what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I did. So as a voc rehab counselor, I worked in the private sector for 10 years. And I help people find positions within their physical limitations, mostly through the workers' compensation system. And so that system didn't work for me after 10 years. I wasn't happy in it anymore. And true to form, luckily, with my ADHD undiagnosed at the time, I know when to make a shift. I just automatically know that. So I started making a shift towards working with the general population.
Hmm.
And I got trained by Richard Bowles, who wrote What Color is Your Parachute?
Sure. Yeah.
So he was my mentor. He was a person that really taught me the parachute method and just got me excited about doing straight up career coaching. Um, for many years, I did that. I loved it. And I still, to some extent, use that model. Um, and then I ended up getting, again, with my ADHD and creativity, decided I was going to start a franchise system. And
Hmm.
that's too long of a story. That's like a whole thing in and of itself. But I started a franchise system called Kids Art, and I was the CEO and founder for quite some time, until I realized that wasn't really my calling. It was just something, it was what I call a mission.
Hmm.
I talk about that in the work I do, like mission versus purpose. It fulfilled some of my purpose, but I wasn't happy. The reason it wasn't my purpose was anymore, or was not a mission anymore, was I was not happy in it.
Hmm.
So I left. It's a long story, but I did leave and I went directly back to uh, getting my diagnosis. I went directly straight to getting my diagnosis because one of the reasons I left was of all the mess that occurred during my uh, stint, I'll say, with kids art.
Yeah.
And it was so many things that made me realize I was just not happy. But beyond that, there were things going on with me I needed to figure out. Right. So that was when I got the diagnosis.
Hmm.
And then everything made sense. Right.
As we
So
say, yes.
everything falls into place at that point. And then I said, okay, my calling really is doing the career work. because that's what I always loved doing. I just really loved doing that. So I went back to just focusing and targeting on working with our tribe of neurodivergent folks. And that
Hmm.
was, I would say that was 16 years ago. Um, so I have been doing this work solely with neurodivergent adults, uh, and helping them find the right career fit. That's where that's my sweet spot. It's what I love doing.
I love it.
Never, never bored.
No,
Anyway, yeah,
yeah. No, it sounds great and very rewarding. Um,
yeah,
you said at one point early on, you kind of knew what to do, um, and so you changed paths. Um,
yeah,
Tell me a little bit about that, because I think for ADHDers, and of course, also not a doctor or anything,
yeah,
but in my own personal experience and journey, and it kind of continues this way, and sometimes, and in the conversations I have with folks and the research that I've done, oftentimes we know what to do,
hmm,
but we just don't do it for whatever reason. We get kind of stuck, um, and so I guess first of all, how did you decide what to do? Like you said you knew what to do. How did you land on that? And then how did you decide to push forward? Because, and I'll use the example I often share with friends and things, is that oftentimes I've felt like I'm at not a fork in the road, but like if it was like
yeah,
an old school rake in the road, like all these different
yeah.
offshoots. And what I do is I go down one a little, and then I'm like, oh, this isn't the right way. Self-doubt, imposter syndrome, back up, go back down the one I was on before, way further. And then I'm like, oh, what am I doing here? This is probably not a good place. Go back. Then I go down another a little bit, and so on. And it's usually the same, but I end up going up and down instead of just staying the course and going straight into wherever I need to be, what I need to be doing. So tell me how you knew, and then how you had the wherewithal to go that direction.
Well, that's a little bit more nuanced. And I completely agree with, I mean, I can relate to what you're saying very well because I do try things, I test things out a little bit. Some things work, some things don't. Just going the straight working with the general population thing didn't work for me that well.
Mm,
Um, Initially until I got my training with Richard Bowles. And then I realized that I needed a system of some kind. So it's like you have to, I'd say that the commonality with me or the thing that really kept me strong in terms of making shifts was that I knew that my being I knew what my foundation was. My foundation was always career, educating people in some way, being an educator on some level, being a
mhm,
counselor, helping people. So I had like a real foundation. And that is what always uplifted me to the next thing and helped guide me. So I always stayed with it on the same kind of path, so to speak, in terms of like I've never strayed from career, like the whole career thing and helping people with their careers on some level is something I've always done. And I was very fortunate. I know a lot of people don't have that. But for me, where my ADHD came into it was that I can't be bored in what I'm doing. I just
yeah.
can't. And I can feel it early on when it's starting to happen. And I think that's what really propelled me to make the shift and to say, oh my gosh, I've got to start doing something. And so I started, looking into things well beyond. I mean, I was in the California system at the time of working in the vocational rehabilitation, which is when dinosaurs roamed the earth way back when.
Yeah.
It was like mandatory to offer it for employers, for
Mm,
people who were injured on the job, could not return to their jobs. But the system was breaking down, and I could see it was going to become obsolete, and I could see it was going to get voted out. I could see the legislation coming down.
mhm.
We have that. I think we have the gift of kind of the 360-degree ability to see things almost psychically. The
Yeah.
big picture thing that we have. And that's
Yeah.
something I've always had. And I tried to warn people and say, look, you better start making some changes. And so many people lost their jobs and things like that. But I had just moved on. I found other ways to keep doing what I was doing on some level. And people were coming to me going, "How did you do that?" Well, I just knew I had to make, I don't know, I just knew ahead of time I had to do it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of it. But finding the right sweet spot, so to speak, didn't happen until I got my diagnosis.
Mm.
And then putting the process together that I use with people, that was the next step for me. But it all was in the um, found within the foundation of education. So it was always, how do you educate, inspire, uplift, help people make the right determination for themselves about what kind of career they need to, or job, or whatever they need to be in. And then it became with our brain wiring.
Did you do like specific exercises on, because this is stuff I've done and stuff I do with my clients as well, which is, you know, it's like exercises of self-reflection and understanding, with different personality or strengths assessments and so on. Did you go through some, obviously with the red parachute, obviously that, or what color is my parachute? Excuse me. Um, Tell me a little bit about like the process that you went through, and with the purpose of also helping to inspire the listener to maybe do this for his or herself if they are feeling stuck right now in their career, right? Because the listeners of this podcast are like me, like you, late diagnosed adults, right? And so
Right.
oftentimes, yes, it all makes sense, but then it's time maybe, and often maybe that diagnosis comes because of anxiety or depression or just, bad luck,
Yeah.
and you want to see somebody to talk to, like a therapist, and then you receive a diagnosis kind of in that process. That's part of, how people discover. More women, it's often with children,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
But so tell me a little bit about like how somebody can tap into their strengths. Like for me personally, in my own sort of journey, I've looked at all of my strengths revolve around communication. And so I often say, like, I have like an umbrella. It's the communication umbrella. Like yours would be maybe career umbrella, right? And everything
Education
else,
and career,
or
yeah.
education. Excuse me. Yeah, it would be probably education. Yeah, and career would be part of that.
The
Um,
umbrella.
yeah. So and that fits into that. So tell me,
Mhm.
tell me about maybe the process that somebody could do listening who feels stuck right now, and to figure out what is that color, or what is that umbrella.
What is that color? Yeah. So when I did parachute coaching for so many years, and basically what I found with people with ADHD after I got my diagnosis is that it didn't work anymore. It didn't work as well because it was too confusing.
Mm,
There was just too many things to kind of figure out, and things that were left out that we needed to take into consideration. And I was always having to embellish and embellish and do graphics and do all kinds of stuff and add to it. I finally realized I need to just do the freaking book on this. And so I did. I have can I plug it? Can I tell
yeah, yeah,
people about
yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
it? Okay, it's called Unlock Your Career Path,
Mm,
a course for neurodivergent adults and teens.
mhm,
And it literally will take you through everything you're asking me now. It will take you through all of that with a lot of self-reflection. So I don't do, the thing is, it's new. The process is always going to be nuanced
mhm,
with our brains. There's always some things that will work and some things that won't work. So certain exercises people are not going to want to do. And I don't know how this sits with you, and it's not any shade on people that do assessments, but I don't do them. I stopped doing them many years ago. I
mm,
used to do them. I did them for years. I didn't find for what we do that it's helpful to do
Interesting.
assessments
What
for
didn't you find?
career.
Yeah, I find the thing I always use. I mean, I'm always skeptical about things anyway, but I know, and I always preface, like when I talk about any sort of Myers-Briggs or DISC or whatever assessments, I always, preface by saying like, it's unscientific. We know that it's unscientific, but oftentimes the benefit of doing them and doing, in my opinion, and doing multiple is without spending a ton of money or anything on them. I mean, you can find a lot for free, but you do them and it shines a light on identifying, say, the strengths that you have that you already have deep down inside, or you just haven't confirmed them or you haven't landed on them. And so the benefit I find is that if you do multiple, and I've done them all, I think if you do, well, not all, but you've done multiple strengths assessments or profile or personality assessments or whatever, you can start to see the similarities between the results that may say things with different words, but mean the same thing. And that's kind of part of the process I've used to try to land on sort of communication as a kind of umbrella.
Okay, so let me just say that you asked me about career. This is about career. It's not about. So for career, the assessments don't work as well. They just don't for our brain wiring, because it is so nuanced and because people really need to have ways to pull this information together by first exploring themselves and being very truthful with themselves and not comparing themselves to other people and getting rid of the noise that's all those voices of other people in your life and in your head. We have both.
Yeah.
We've got them in our head and we've got them outside of ourselves that are pulling us in different directions and saying, why don't you try this? Have you ever thought of that? Have you ever blah, 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 blah. So this is what I do is a very it's strictly all about me. It's not comparing you to anyone else.
Okay.
And what I found with assessments is that right away when you take one, sometimes they're asking you questions that aren't even relevant, like having you pick two things that don't even make sense.
Right.
And then comparing you to people who are very often not necessarily neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you might get like a little hint of some things, but it's not going to it's not going to pull out of you who you are and where you're really going to shine.
What does pull that out of you?
What I was going to say is the process to unlock Career Galaxy / inspired by Parachute really does, because it just asks you questions. It takes away all the outside influence that you might have.
Yeah.
I put people in what I call the career bubble, and I tell them while they're working with me, they can't really talk to their spouse or their partner or any of their friends or family about what they're coming up with during this time.
Mm-hmm.
Because the second they get an eye roll, the second they get about, have you thought about, the second they get any little inclination that there's something else that they might consider other than what they're really authentically coming up with, that's going to pull them off track.
So what is the like, what would be the starting point then, besides like right away? I mean, obviously buying your book or hiring you, but let's say you're my coach. Let's say you're my coach right now. Like let's put Dave under the microscope. Like, let's say I came to you and said, Shell, help me. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do with my life. And you mentioned earlier about vision and purpose. So or mission.
I'm happy to share that. So, so basically I don't talk about strengths as much as I talk first about skills. Okay. And it's all about your preference. It's all about the things that light you up, about what I can call your must-haves.
Okay. Yeah.
The things that are just, red line, you've got to do these things or consider these things first before you make a decision. Mm-hmm. That's why everything's in writing. You have it in front of you at the end. But basically, we start with what are the skills that you prefer to use? And I have different ways that we get to identifying and prioritizing your top skills.
All right. So try me on it. I want to do it. I want to be a guinea pig.
Well, I can't. it's hard to do unless you kind of go through the exercises. So there's some, the exercises, there's different ways that we use to go about it.
Yeah.
But part of it is we write stories and see and look at the skills that come out of those stories about things that you really enjoyed, events that you, very positive events in your life, not anything specific, but it could be from childhood. It could be from anywhere. So I take people back to their childhoods, things that they were, and it starts with what are the activities that you enjoyed using as a child, the things that you maybe got away from, the things that you remember doing as a kid, activities, the fun things that you loved doing, and no matter what it was, and excluding nothing,
Yeah.
because it all sort of speaks to at some point who you are and what really intrinsically lights you up. And that is not something that will ever go away. There's always like a basis there. And people, when they go back and they look at all that stuff, they forget. Because, with ADHD, with being
Sure.
neurodivergent, many of us just forget about the things that we've done in our lives because we get so focused in on whatever it is that we have to do, or wherever we're at.
And we don't stop and celebrate the wins or recognize the good stuff that we
don't
do.
recognize it, but we forget that, oh God, I love doing this thing and I was so good at it. And
Shell, I was
Yeah.
an extra in a Hollywood movie. I loved acting, and I loved and I was a joker. I loved doing fun, but practical jokes, or getting the class clown, getting people laughing. I loved writing stories, creative writing and things. Now, fast forward all these decades, I love delivering keynote presentations in front of audiences. I now understand myself enough to understand that, oh, I never got dopamine. And standing in front of audiences or getting laughs from people or networking and meeting people. That's why I wrote a book about networking.
Yeah.
It's because I get all this energy from the people that I meet, because I'm also extroverted, that I get this dopamine rush. And so it helps me understand. And I also I trained with Second City in Toronto. And so I have a pretty deep background in improv and comedy and performance.
And it all fits with what you're doing, right?
It all fits.
You're bringing it out,
I need to
doing
figure out how to
some
make
of
it pay
the, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be, it's not literal. None of it is necessarily literal. It's just that you need to understand what those things are and go back and relive some of that to pull some of that out in the beginning. That's the beginning piece of what we do.
Yeah.
And then it goes from there. And then you start breaking it down into who are the people what are the characteristics of those people that you enjoy that are important for you to work with, and the ones that don't. We start with what you don't like. So a lot of times, who do you not want to work with? Remember those people. And it's not hard for people to remember who they don't want to work. So it's easier to list what you don't like and then convert that to what is important to you, right? What your must-haves are, and then to prioritize those things. So another big piece of it are, what are the conditions that you need to have? And a lot of talk is happening right now around working conditions for people, divergent people. There's a lot of talk about that. Well, that goes well beyond just a few little shifts in your workplace. It's really about knowing and being aware of how different conditions impact you, and really understanding that at a very deep level. And we go through that. And then it's going through all the industries, special interests. I call them fields of fascination, things that, areas that maybe you had thought about, like acting, like maybe doing something in the movies, or just being in around certain kinds of people who are doing certain kinds of things that really inspire you. You mentioned dopamine. Yeah, you've got to have that on a fairly regular basis, which comes from engagement. And feeling really interested beyond just the norm, something that will be sustainable over a long period of time.
Yeah. I think that's why like ADHDers, and I'm generalizing, but I do understand that like, like EMT workers or police or military are often, tend to lean towards ADHD often because of like any type of job, or pilots, because, I
Yeah.
interviewed like Dr. Bob Dempsey, who was 16 years, he was the director of the International Space Station for NASA before he was diagnosed. Right.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
obviously he was juggling a lot of tasks there, but even
But
he was
he
doing
loved
what
it,
he
I'm
loved.
sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. He was great at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so we've gone through, let's say, this process of kind of nailing down some of our sweet spots as you've described here. It's reminiscent a little bit of like Ikigai. Are you familiar with
Yeah, I
Ikigai?
know what you're talking. I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I have Ikigai like on Wise Squirrels that people can check out, because it is sort of an exercise of going through and determining sort of the things that you love and what people would be willing to pay you for, to try to connect it to it's more than that. But so once you've kind of nailed, because as I asked you earlier, and this is asking from maybe my own selfish reasons, but like tapping in and recognizing these skills rather than strengths, as you mentioned, which I think is a
Well,
great.
strengths are okay. Let me just
They're
clarify
similar.
that.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
me
yeah.
clarify that. The reason I say skills versus strengths, strengths are important, but only if you enjoy using the skills associated with those strengths.
100%.
Because a lot of people end up doing things that, yeah, they're great at it, but they hate it.
Right.
And they get put into these positions. You're so good at this, I want you to do more of this, and they hate it.
Yeah.
And that is the road to burnout.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's on the road to burnout right there, when you get pegged for doing something that you don't enjoy doing. So
Yeah.
that's it's important to clear the way, and that would be a big no. That would be on the bottom of the list. It would be something like a strength that you don't enjoy using, could be something that you could spend maybe 5% or less of the workday doing, because it's just part of the mix.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not something that you're going to be doing all the time, or else you end up burned out.
Yeah. And
You know what I'm
that
saying?
makes that makes complete sense. Thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying that. So,
Yeah.
but like, let's say that I wanted, okay. So a few years ago, before I was diagnosed, of course, I decided I was going to, really take what I've learned about comedy, and I've always wanted to do stand up. And so I was like, I'm just going to take a stand up 101 class so I could meet the others. So I would have people to hold me accountable and vice versa. So we could go out to the open mics together, and it worked. And I hit an open mic usually with the same person. And I did 5 open mics in 5 weeks, and plus a couple more. And I did pretty well. But I'm also realistic enough to know that I'm also 53, and getting back to that original question I was asking you about, like, at what point does one say, you know what, I know I'm funny looking, at least. I know I'm great at this stuff and performance and reading audiences and all this stuff. So I know I could be great at it, but I'm also 53 with 2 kids in college, a wife who's retiring in a few years. And I'm like, and I, don't have the daddy Warbucks, Nepo baby money that I can rely on to be able to bankroll taking such
Yeah.
risks. So tell
Well,
me about like that.
yeah, so that's part of it. Like, we have to look at the bottom line of what you need to bring in every month, like in terms of bills. So this is not pie in the sky stuff that we do. It's
Right.
very, very important to get the full picture of, and it means that in the end, what I call the cream rising to the top, are the things that are becoming very clear as you're going through. It's not always something that hits you in the face. It's not always a very definite answer. It's going to be nuanced. It might require 1 or 2 different things that you do, like this on the side for a while you're doing this practically to make money. There's just different ways that people will start out to sort of make sure that their lives are still in balance, and they're having, if they have to take care of. And generally what happens is people will find ways to get what they need. In other words, they may need to do some more training in order to do what they really want to do. They may need to go back to school and, but in a very specific thing, not in a general way. It's whatever kind of training they get will be very, very specific. And it will lead towards work. It will lead towards, employment at some point. But that's always like one of the things that comes out of it. Like, but it's also not spending money on pie in the sky kind of what I call shiny object courses.
Right.
A lot of people will spend a fortune on those things. Look back, if you could add all that money up on all the classes you took and all the things that you just put on the shelf and never did anything with, or maybe got halfway through. Yeah.
And nowadays, like as a recovering marketer, like, and always ethical, I mean, there's so much snake oil now and so much BS online, to the point that I've actually started calling people out, but that's a different story. I do
too, by the way.
Yeah. I call it my wall of shame. It's on my LinkedIn profile. And I actually tag the people that are trying to scam me, and call them out.
I love it.
Yeah. And I constantly get people searching for these people's names when they solicit them. And when they search it, they end up finding one of my posts from 2 years ago and send me a message to thank me for the message ahead of time. So I'm all for calling out the BSers out there. So for somebody that, I guess the challenge, I'm often, so one of the most dangerous things, and listeners of the show have heard me say this multiple times, but one of the dangerous things about a late diagnosis of ADHD, not to say don't get diagnosed. I mean, go get diagnosed and get treatment. Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. But one of the dangerous things about learning that you have ADHD later is you start to look at the past and you start beating yourself up because you didn't do this or didn't do that. And I'm not suggesting people do that. However, since the listener of this show is a late diagnosed adult like us, I'm 53. If you're 20, change courses, try something different, go back to school and study something different. But at 53, it's like, I should be thinking about retirement and not, oh my God, I should just completely change course and go back to school and spend tens of thousands of dollars in debt for a degree in something. Like, how do you know it's the right choice obviously there's nothing definite, there's no crystal ball, but how do you know you've chosen that right fork in the road
by doing a lot of I hear what you're saying. Sorry. By doing a lot of the things that you should have done before, but didn't. Yeah. And now you're going to do them before you make these decisions.
Yeah.
And that would include not just research, but having conversations with people, joining organizations, getting real clarity. Like people, I think when they go through the process I do, the biggest thing that comes out of it is confidence. Like I just ended a class last night and every single person said they feel 100% more confident in their ability to make the right choice. They have the tools. They know what to do. If they haven't done it yet, they have accountability to continue to do it before they make the choice to either go to do the next step, which could involve doing some kind of training. It could be just a certification. Mm-hmm. It could be getting a certificate. It doesn't necessarily mean going back to school.
Yeah.
It could mean, and I always say, what are the alternative routes to going back to school? When you talk to people, how, people get into their fields or to do things differently. It's not always about going back to school. Yeah. So it's really doing the work that should have been done earlier in life, but doing it from the ground up. And finally, realizing and connecting with what it is that you're supposed to be doing, which is accelerating. It's never too late for that. Yeah. I mean, you could be spending your time saying, oh, I should be retired, and then not retire and not be able to retire. Or you can figure out, how you can live your life in a way that's going to be fun and exciting and learning and expanding and growing. And maybe do something even part-time that you really enjoy. It doesn't matter. There's so many different ways to do it. It's just that you won't know what those ways are. You won't know until you explore and talk to people and find out and do, the must-haves, prioritize what's important to you all the way. What is really, truly important? Block the noise out. What do I want? So I always tell people be very, very selfish
Hmm.
in this.
Yeah.
Be completely selfish. It's okay. Most of us don't know how to be when it comes to this kind of thing. It's like, oh, what'll my spouse say? What'll my friends say? What will everyone say?
Yeah.
You want to please. We're kind of people pleasers, aren't we? I
We
mean,
definitely people pleasers.
we're people pleasers. So it's very, very, it's not an easy ask when I say block the noise out. What do I want? And I have to remind people. And there's a part of us that will always resist doing that. There's that resistance. I
Yeah.
call it the safekeeping self.
Yeah.
That safekeeping part of us is always going to say, yes, but,
Yeah.
and that yes, but, yeah. So, I
Oh my
mean,
gosh.
you could,
I literally, I sorry to interrupt. I literally just did a workshop this week for a client, like 13 people, sales team for a company. And I speak, one of my presentations and workshops is it's called the Master Communicator's Secret Weapon. And the reveal, don't tell anyone, it's improv, but it's not about like, it's not about everybody becoming a comedian and taking an improv class, but rather using tools and core strategies and concepts from the art of improv to improve how you communicate with people. And that includes prospects and clients and friends and family even. But when you said nice butt, I talk about like, I use this nice framework I came up with years ago, but I use nice and instead of yes and like in improv, partly because you can't approve every concept, every crazy idea at work. You can't say yes and to everything, but you can say nice and empower your people and make them feel heard and slow yourself down from blocking it or rejecting it or saying that's a stupid idea. And then so I do an exercise where the group do nice and we go through that together. And then on the flip side, then we try nice but. And on the slide, because I love designing my slides really well, on the slide I have nice but, and then I add an arrow that goes to the T, pointing out that it's one T, and don't call HR. So we're talking about nice butt with one T, because if you say nice butt with two T's, that's a call to HR. But when you go through this nice butt exercise, like you're saying, you're basically blocking the person. You're basically saying no. Nice, but we don't do that. Nice, but I can't, I don't have the money. Nice, but blah, blah, blah. And it blocks, but it blocks that. So anyway, went on a tangent there. Sorry.
no, I mean, the thing that I love listening to you is how excited you are about what you do. I mean, I feel the same way. So that's where I look for that in people when they start to talk about certain things that are coming up for them, the animation in their voice, the energy, and you clearly love what you do. And what I see is that you tie so much of what you truly love, like the improv stuff, into what you're doing. You bring it all in.
Yeah.
And that's so important. These are what you're talking about are the things that people really don't do because they get into this, I've got to just do this thing to make money. And then they feel stressed. The stress comes on, the anxiety comes on. What if I get fired? What if,
So, when it comes to like for my own, like I've been working for myself now for 13 years and so long before COVID and all that stuff. And it's been it's a roller coaster as all solopreneurships or entrepreneurships or businesses or even careers. It's a roller coaster. My struggle is in business development. And partly it's my own, I know I'm great at what I do and not being cocky about it. I know I am. I've got almost 150 recommendations on my LinkedIn profile to prove it. But my struggle is often just finding the business because I'm a people pleaser to a fault because I hate rejection, and the people pleasing comes from trauma that I face as a result of undiagnosed ADHD and parents and that kind of thing. So I can easily connect the dots now through therapy, of course. So, when I don't have like a business manager to sell my services. And I feel, and when I speak with people, I should be like book solid. However, I go through a lot of dips. Any ideas during those dips, what I could do to help improve my own business that way, to get the word out more? Because I think a lot of people who are going through career transitions or change, maybe they've changed course, and they've worked with you on this, and they've maybe taken some training or whatever, or they've done informational, meetings with people in the industries. They've attended those, networking events, which is all amazing, great advice. They've done all that. What next to help move the needle for them?
Well, I don't like marketing any more than you do. I'm the same way. I mean, I don't know how much I should say here, but I think,
It's just you and me. Don't worry, Shell. It's only you and me.
oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just you and me.
No. How many?
You might need
No,
to,
yeah.
you might need to edit this part.
No, go
But,
ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, my business was thriving before January.
Mm, yeah.
And you know what happened in January.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's happened to almost people that are not in services that are absolutely 100% necessary.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been a roller coaster for me too. So I really understand that.
Yeah.
But I don't take it personally necessarily because
Sure.
yeah, I was 100%, I was booked solid,
Mm-hmm.
not even an issue before then. And all of a sudden it took a very deep drop. And I think people just aren't talking about it. I think it's happening to everybody. So I don't think it's necessarily you. I just think that you can never stop talking about what you do and engaging people, and what you're doing with podcasting. And I find that being interviewed helps because people really get to know you. They just want to know who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what you have to offer. And what better way than having people get to know you through the airwaves or hearing you on I would interview with other people
Mm-hmm.
like I'm doing with you.
Yeah.
I think that is really the best way to do it. And then of course you have to have the SEO person. And you
Well,
have to
yeah.
have,
And
yeah,
I
you
do
have
all
to have,
that. I mean, like
let's see,
just
that's all and if you talk to your SEO person, Google is crazy now. I mean, it really, he'll say, "Oh my gosh, it's just I have to start all over every other week. I don't know what's going on." So SEO does play into it.
and for the
Um,
listener, that means search engine optimization, which means
search
that if
engine
somebody is
optimization.
Googling for what you do, hopefully you're coming up. And to be clear on this is something I advise my clients on too, because I was a speaker for Google for 6 years. So I taught thousands of people how to grow their businesses online on behalf of Google, representing Google. And I traveled internationally doing this. And so I know SEO, search engine marketing, SEM, and nowadays too, with the hot, like quick adoption of things like ChatGPT and other AI agents and AI tools. If you go to wisesquirrels.com right now and you scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll see a message down there just for the AI bots, because and it says if you're a human, you can stop reading now. That is being used to teach and train AI on who I am or what Wise Squirrels is. Because if you look at like Google Analytics and you start looking at the inbound traffic to your websites, hopefully you'll see ChatGPT, among others, Perplexity, or all the others, Gemini, sending traffic to your website. So somebody is on ChatGPT now asking for a career coach, or that they have ADHD and they're searching for a career coach.
Mhm.
You should be checking that to make sure that Shell is coming up. My struggle too sometimes is deciding, okay, what am
On
I doing? Pardon
Chat
me?
GBT, on Chat GBT. I know on Perplexity, I probably am pretty strong there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, you were asking about what are some of the things. I think you just need to keep doing what you're doing and not give up, honestly. And there are dips. I mean, I've had some serious dips before I finally found my sweet spot in terms of what I do and uh getting business, basically having my business thrive.
Yeah.
It was very, very up and down and very choppy. And it was, but the one thing I would never give up is working on my own. And I've worked on my own for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, I cannot work for other people. I realize that I cannot work for other people.
I've
So
just
that
updated.
means,
I've just updated my personal business card. You can see it on camera here.
oh yeah,
And
there
then
you
it's got,
go.
and then it's got a QR code to a secret video and page. But the business card, for those listening, it says I solve problems. And this
Yeah.
is kind of what I've landed on is when I'm networking and speaking with other professionals at events and things, they may ask me what I do, and I try to turn it around and ask them, I say I solve problems, and they say, well, what do you mean? What kind of problems? And I say, like, well, what are some communication problems you're facing? And at work, I'm not prying on their personal life. And if they come back and say, oh, actually, yeah, we've had struggle with retention or culture or sales or
Mhm.
whatever, if it's something that I have the knowledge of how I can help them, that's when I can say, well, I've helped clients with that kind of problem. I'd love to,
Mhm.
let's chat more afterwards, grab a coffee, and I can fill you in. Or if it's a problem I can't solve, this is the big part about my book. Is called New Business Networking. I always make it a point to then say, oh, I have ADHD and I'm stuck in my career. Well, maybe I can't help you with that, but I know who can. And that's when I make an introduction to Shell. Right.
Mhm.
So, and that's something I encourage everybody to always be doing, is to be mindful of the people in their communities, in their networks. And I think, to your point, I mean, I think everybody struggles professionally from time to time, and all businesses they all ebb and flow. So it's a roller coaster, certainly. And certainly in the speaking business, I'm feeling the pain of the tariffs, and as a Canarican now, it breaks my heart. But I completely understand why Canadians are pissed. I am too, and I live here.
Yeah. You're in Canada. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Because you're in the,
sorry. I live in the States. I live in Nashville, but
oh, okay.
but I'm Canadian and now also American. So,
Yeah. But I
Canarian.
think people who aren't, honestly, I feel like most professionals are going through this and it's impacting everybody, the
Yeah.
whole tariff thing, because people are like, do I do this or do I pay my bills?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's understandable, but it's kind of like, well, for me, I go, well, you can stay in this job that you might get fired in, but do you want to have, uh, the tools, and do you want to know what is the right fit for you and be able to describe that to a T and articulate it 100% and then be above the cut of people that you're competing with? Or do you just want to
Yeah.
stay in this situation and hope for the best,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you just have to sort of keep screaming, I think, not screaming, but telling people like you do, because what you do is it's super valuable, it's important.
Yeah.
And and be relevant, let people, you have to keep letting people know that what you do is so relevant to their lives. It's important that they consider these things, like, okay, pay the bills or do that. But if you're talking about paying the bills and you're on the verge of getting fired and with no backup, without knowing what the heck you're going to do next,
Yeah.
then you're in a weak position right there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Very weak. Whereas people, when I work with them, they are not weak because they have the tools to make that pivot, to do what they need to do to move on to the next thing. With ADHD, it's got to be something that you enjoy doing. It has to have some level of engagement for you.
Yes. Like this podcast. That's why I love doing what I'm doing.
I can tell. I can
and
tell. I always say to
speaking to smart people like you.
podcasters,
Yeah.
I always say to podcasters, like, look at what you're doing. Your podcast, I mean, obviously you love doing that. And that's something that you've added to the mix of whatever else you were doing before. You've added that to the mix.
I,
That's the foundation, right? So you
yeah,
talk about your foundation was, I don't know, what was it?
communication.
Communications
Yeah.
is a big foundation for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, that everything you do in terms of communicating, you define how you want to communicate, what you want to communicate, the things that you're really love, the things you love to communicate, the
Yes.
way in which you communicate, all of that stuff can lead into different directions that are exciting,
Shell,
you know?
yeah, this has been incredible. And I know, we'll have to do a part 2 at some point and talk more because we're already out of time, and I've absolutely loved having you.
Really?
So
Oh my gosh, that was
I
fast.
know.
Okay.
So for anyone listening who would love to have Shell back on, reach out to me, Dave at wisesquirrels.com, and we can, we'll line up part 2 because I think we still have so much more to talk about. And I really loved having you. How can folks get a hold of you and learn more about what you do? Find your book, find your coaching.
Well, the easiest way is passion2career.com.
Yeah.
And then my book is unlockyourcareerpath.com, but it's on the website. So
Okay.
I prefer people first look at the PDF because that's very inexpensive way. You download it. So I can make changes easily
Yep.
instead of printing out a whole new set of books. But you can get the book on Amazon.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, the PDF download is very, very inexpensive and it's fillable, by the way. So you
Yeah.
can do the process. And then I do the masterclass, your next career move masterclass. You can schedule the intro call with me
Okay.
on the
Great.
website.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for having for being on the show. I appreciate you being here and sharing your wisdom and story. I think it's really inspiring and
Thank you.
yeah, no, this has been great. So thank you.
You are too. You're inspiring and you're the kind of example that I like to give people of what it's like when you're incorporating all those skills and all those things that are important to you in your work.
Thanks for watching the podcast. Please join us at wisesquirrels.com. I'll see you there.